Three questions. What's on the rundown this morning? John Anthony.
What if Wyandotte County tries to get a sales tax for the Chiefs?
Well, it will explain two things to me. One, there will be a lot of shenanigans that go on to try to move the Chiefs across the state line, and almost none of it will be good for the taxpayer. But trust me, they'll try to convince you it's a great deal for you. That's number one. And number two, it signals to me that star bonds are not enough. This came down yesterday from Fox 4's Jonathan Ketz, that Tyrone Garner, the mayor of the unified government out there, he said on tape that, he thinks a earnings tax would be a great move to try to lure the Chiefs over to the Legends. But here's the catch. The earnings tax would only be paid by those who work in Wyandotte County but do not live in Wyandotte County. However, as Quinton Lucas noted this morning on social media, that is a violation of the Constitution's Commerce Clause. That is why all of these earnings taxes, whether it's Kansas City or St. Louis or elsewhere around the country, places that have them, they have to be levied against those who live there and those who work there but do not live there. The Commerce Clause forbids states to levy the taxes that discriminate against interstate commerce or that burden it by subjecting activities to multiple or unfairly apportioned taxation. The belief there is that you can't even really do an earnings tax that's only levied against people who do not reside in that area. Now, I'm sure somebody could challenge that. You'll find some attorney that can do that if they want to do that and go down that road. But either way, Tyrone Garner is saying that we'll have an earnings tax that is only paid for by those who don't live in the county, and that will ultimately, too, lower your property taxes in Wyandotte. Are you buying this? It is the classic, quintessential example of some big tax government official being like, don't worry, we're just going to get the rich guys to pay the taxes and your property taxes will go down. We're going to get Patrick Mahomes to pay those taxes and Travis Kelce because they don't live here, but they're going to be working here, so they'll pay taxes on the earnings tax. You won't. Your life will get better, and I'm here to just tell you, be careful what you wish for. It's usually BS when they make these kinds of promises, John.
The rich guy's got to pay his fair share there.
That's right. Thank you, Bernie. Mm-hmm. Thank you, Bernie. Now let's go back to John Anthony for What If Wednesday.
What if the feds actually signal it will cut the interest rates today?
Then they're nuts. If Jerome Powell today signals that the Fed, after this inflation report dropped, that was, I guess, better than expected. There was no change on inflation month over month. Year over year, it came in at 3.4 instead of 3.5%. I don't know why that's good when the target's of 2%. But either way, if the Fed signals it will cut rates today, then Jerome Powell has lost his mind. You just heard Aaron Hedlund talk about it. He doesn't think it's happening. I don't think it's happening. But the markets are flying out of the gates here. They've been open for 23 minutes, and we've got new highs for the S&P 500. Already up this morning 1% to 5,400 on the S&P. Dow jumped 300 points out of the gates. S&P 500 hit a record on cooler inflation data than expected. So now, as I told you at 6:50, today becomes one of the most important economic news days of the entire year because it could end up setting the tone for the election cycle as well and what's to come. Now, I don't think the person on Main Street, no matter what happens in the stock market today, no matter what happens from the Fed today, the person on Main Street is not going to say, things were tough, but gosh, good thing inflation is 3.4 instead of 3.5%. I'm feeling a lot better about myself. I don't think that's going to happen, but it will set the tone for what could be coming in terms of how the economic data news gets framed in the months ahead. And I promise you, watch for the word cooling today. If you watch TV or you're on your computer at work, not doing your job and looking at the news cycle, watch for the word cooling. You will see that a lot. It's still on fire. It's just cooler than what expectations were, which to me is not a cooling process, John.
The password is cooling. Cooling.
You're going to see it, man.
What if the media pushing the Hunter Biden conviction negates Trump's persecution narrative?
Oh, that's good, man. That's good. Well, first off, we know the media is going to do it, and the media pushing the Hunter Biden conviction does not in any way negate Donald Trump's "I am being persecuted for who I am" narrative. But if it did, then it would mean that Joe Biden is in a better spot going into the fall. Let's be honest. The best thing for Donald Trump would have been Hunter Biden getting off scot-free. He could have furthered the narrative of they're out to get me. And, there are different sets of rules for different people. But this case was such a slam dunk on so many levels that it was always expected Hunter Biden's verdict was going to come back guilty here. But does that in any way change Donald Trump's belief and, his angle that he is being targeted for who he is? Absolutely not. In no way, shape, or form. Not when you got a city DA bringing up federal charges, turning them into felonies because the misdemeanor statute of limitations has already come and gone, and then turning this with the judge into a circus of all circuses and getting the conviction that they want. That does not change the narrative for Donald Trump, no matter how much people try to insist that it does.